السلام عليكم، يعطيكم العافية. في محاضرة اليوم راح نحكي عن ال system.object class. في البداية the objectives of today's lecture be able to override and use the objects methods. خلينا نروح على C# documentation of the class of the object class. حكينا هنا ال object class supports all classes in the .NET class hierarchy and provides low-level services to derived classes. This is the ultimate basic class of all .NET classes. Okay. It is the root of the type hierarchy. يعني كل classes اللي احنا بننشئهم او المنشآت الروت كلاس لهم او الروت كلاس لهم اللي هو الاوبجكت كلاس. اوكي. هذا الاوبجكت كلاس هذا في وين متى بنستفيد منه؟ خلينا نروح على البروجكت تاعنا. هاي البروجكت اللي سويناه المره الماضيه وحكينا فيه وكنا نشرح عن البروبرتيز. حكينا فيه عندنا كلاس اسمه ستودنت، وكلاس اسمه ستودنت فيه اي دي فيرست نيم او لاست نيم ديبارتمنت كود. اوكي. نفترض انه احنا هون سوينا ستودنت اس 1 ودي سوينا كمان ستودنت اس 2 equals new student. و think انه في عنا parameterless constructor وفي عنا constructor that takes the department code. alright. خلينا نحكي student as 2 new student department code 4. okay. for example. alright. لو بدي انا اطبع هذا الستودنت نحكي هسه okay. s1 equals s1 right. وبدنا نطبع s2 similarly نطبع s2 right. إذا بدنا نطبع s1 و s2 في الكونسول دوت رايت لاين ونشوف شو بده يعطينا. زي ما شايفين هون أعطانا هنا intro underscore cs dot student1 intro underscore cs dot student. okay. intro underscore نذكركم في intro underscore cs اللي هو name of the namespace تاعنا dot student اللي هو name of the class. هذا الفورمات ل هاي السترينج هاي منين جابها؟ احنا طبعا s1. اوكي. بالعاء هنا لما نعمل s1 او name of the object what happens actually انه السيستم invokes ال dot to string method. okay. s1 dot to string. اوكي. هذا انه احنا كتبناها او لا ال s1 dot to string will be invoked. اوكي. في هذول الحالتين. طيب s1 dot to string وين موجودة هاي؟ مش موجودة عندنا في الستودنت كلاس، هاي موجودة في الاوبجكت كلاس. خلينا نرجع على documentation نشوف الميثودز تاعون الاوبجكت كلاس. في عنده equals finalize get type member wise clone reference equals في عندنا to string. alright. to string هاي public method شو بتسوي لنا؟ it returns a string that represents the current object. okay. regardless انه هسه السترينج اللي برجعها السيستم actually does not represent the intro underscore cs dot student does not actually represent the current object بس هاي ال default implementation of the to string. okay. if we really need to return a string that represents the current object we need to override this method. okay. alright. نيجي هون نحكي public override. okay. override is keyword. نحكي you can override equals get hash code and to string. we need to override to string. return base dot to string اللي هو default implementation ل to string. احنا we need our own implementation. okay. our own implementation كيف بدنا string that represents the current object. خلينا نحكي انه ال ID احنا ايش في عنا هون let's say انه بدنا نرجع ID colon first name last name يعني بدنا الفورمات يرجع like this ID بعدين first name space last name for example. so return هنا string dot format. ايش اللي تعلمناه احنا في انه هنا place holder variable اللي هو id then first name space last name this dot id this dot first name this dot underscore last name. احنا name of the variable اسمه underscore last name والlast name بدون underscore اللي هي البروبرتي اذا مذكر. alright underscore last name اللي هو instance variable last name اللي هو public property. طبعا instead of string dot format احنا بنقدر نعمل return نحط $sign نعمل this dot id colon alright بعدين هنا this dot first name space this dot underscore last name. you can use string dot format أو هذا الفورمات تحط $sign اوكي يعني هاي الفورمات. بعدين نحط between curly braces name of the variables. okay. هي تستخدم this format or this format. alright لما أنا أطبع أحكي s1.to string أو أحكي s2 كان أنا لما أعمل أنا s2 هو .to string will be internally invoked. let's run this. شو حكى لي هنا 1 colon أحمد سامر s2 ما فيه لا first name ولا last name. كان s2 dot full name فين بدنا calculate property اسمه full name equal منال راضي for example. okay alright full name calculated property بحط منال في first name وراضي in the last name. هنا 0 منال راضي 0 اللي هو ال ID لأنه we didn't set any value. alright هاي بالنسبة لل to string. اوكي now النقطة الثانية الميثود الثانية اللي نعملها implementation اللي هي ال equals. الميثود اللي هي ال equals هاي اللي بنستخدمها determines whether two object instances are equal. اوكي الفاليو تاعتها alright now this one determines if the specified object is equal to the current object. احنا هاي اياها. okay we need to determine if the object اللي هو الobject parameter is equal to the current object اللي هو this object. alright let's طب كيف نستفيد منها. let's assume انه ال id s2 dot set id and 1 زي s1 alright department ل alright هي أنا s2 نسوي نفس s1 والفيرست نيم اللي هو أحمد سامر اوكي خلينا نطبعهم s1 واحد أحمد سامر فهنا s1 و s2 صاروا لهم نفس القيمة. إذا بنطبع كمان الديبارتمنت نحكي id أو خلينا نحط الديبارتمنت كمان اللي هو this dot department code بين أقواس. خلينا نطبع كل الانستنس فاريبلز الديبارتمنت كود 1 الاي دي 1 احمد سامر ديبارتمنت كود 1 الاي دي 1 احمد سامر. فصار لنا احمد و صار لنا s1 و s2 are equals. طيب اذا طبعنا s1 dot equals s2 بيطلعوا نفسهم ولا لا؟ ولو طبعنا S1 equal S2 شو بعطونا؟ in both cases أعطانا false. Okay, S1 equal S2, it means that S1 as a pointer or S2 as a pointer, are they both of them pointing to the same object? Okay, S1 equal S2, it means the pointer S1 does equal to pointer S2, يعني both of them are pointing to the exact same object. هاي false, we know it's false. هاي S1 dot equals S2 بنكون المعنى تاعها إنه ال values تاعون S1 logically S1 equal S2. okay, هاي احنا بدنا اياها تكون true. okay, هاي false لانه معناها equal معناها انه S1 and S2 as pointers, both of them should point to the same exact object. okay, they are not. كل واحد بيأشر على new object. S1 is a new student and S2 is a new student, so both of them are two different objects. بس ال values تاعونهم هم نفس الشيء, فبدنا equals ترجعنا true in this case. So in this case we need to override the equals, public override in equals. Alright, now في عندي object اسمه obj. First of all we need to cast this object to be as student. Okay, so we need a student, and I want to call it that. So student that equals obj as student. Okay, then if you want to cast obj, you can cast it like this, that equal and that too, for example, equal زي ما بنعرفها student obj. This is one way. Okay, this is one way of casting the object, and this is another way. Okay, شو الفرق بيناتهم؟ إنه in this case casting the object without using the keyword as, هاي it throws an exception. It throws an exception. Okay? It throws an exception. it throws an exception إذا كان الأوبجكت من نوع ثاني. إذا كان الأوبجكت, إذا أنا بمرر object of type for example employee, this statement will raise an exception, casting exception. Okay, for this one, obj as student, it does not throw an exception. okay, إذا كان ال obj is not a student type, okay, then that will be null. And this is very important distinction between those two. okay, again إذا بنستخدم هاي اللي احنا متعودين نستخدمها, alright, هاي it throws an exception. إذا كان throws an exception if obj is not a student. okay, في هاي الحالة إذا كان student is not إذا كان ال obj is not a student type, يعني في عنا object اسمه of type employee ولا chair ولا device, وحكينا مررنا لها هاي الميثود, لأنه هاي الميثود تأخذ any object. okay. هاي ال statement does not throw an exception. okay. In this case, if obj is not a student type, that اللي هو ال variable اللي احنا عرفناه, that will be null. alright, عشان هيك إذا بنستخدم as بدنا نعمل if that not equal null. في هاي الحالة we have to catch the exception. We have to do exception handling. okay, if that is not null, first of all, else يعني إذا كان that equal null, we need to return false, and that's it. We need to return false. If that is not null, now we need to compare if this dot and this object and that object. okay, we need to compare if this object dot id is equal to that dot id. اوكي بدل هون equal we can use it بس احنا خلينا نتعود dot equals مع يعني نحكي this dot id dot equals that dot id and this dot first name dot equals that dot first name خلصنا and this dot last name dot equals that dot last name and lastly I think this dot department code dot equals that dot underscore department code. alright هذا الاشي اللي احنا سويناه. alright now if all of those are true we need to return true. if all of those are true we need to return true. okay this dot id equals that dot id, this dot first name equals that dot first name, this dot underscore last name, and this dot underscore department name, which means that we are comparing between two objects using all of those instance variables. alright let's compare between them. Run our project. alright so now false it means الأولى this one is for sure false. okay now s1 dot equals s2 it returns true. okay alright let's write it like this equal s1 equal s2. alright s1 equal s2 now this one using equals method alright so equal s1 equal s2 false using the equals method it returns true. alright let's test it. لو حكينا if we change s2 dot for example set id let's put id2. let's see now are they still equal or not. equals returns false. alright last method عندنا now sometimes we need to create student. for example s3 equals new student and sometimes we need to create a student that looks like another student, a student that looks like for example exactly as for example s2. okay هنحكي s2 dot dot copy. okay dot copy. okay شو يعني s2 dot copy يعني I want a copy of s2 و I want to save it في s3. okay s2 dot copy في عندنا two types of copy. في عندنا two types of copy. في عندنا shallow copy في عندنا deep copy. في عندنا shallow copy في عندنا deep copy. okay for example s4 s3 equals s2 dot shallow copy. شو يعني shallow copy شو يعني deep copy. shallow copy خلينا نكتب الميثود تاعتها. أنا هون public الريتيرن تايب تاعها بيكون object نوع student اسمها shallow copy. okay. this one it returns a new student this dot member wise clone. alright student. alright so now member wise clone let's go back to member wise clone this one is a protected method. I only can invoke it من ال child classes. يعني هنا member wise clone I can use it. اوكي لأنه student هذا child class للobject، بس هون I can't use it. يعني هون ما بقدر أحكي s2 dot member wise clone. اوكي s2 dot member wise clone ما في. alright. so هسه member wise clone هي بتشتغل create a shallow copy of the current object. okay so this one it returns a shallow copy of the current object. okay shallow copy معناته أنا بنرجع الفاليوز للانستنس variables. هون بترجع الفاليوز للانستنس variables. بس إذا كان الفاريبل اللي عندنا هون object، إنه كان أنا عندي هون object هسه مسوي object، ما بترجع deep copy. okay so this one it returns student، لأنه this dot member wise clone بترجع لنا object، فعملنا احنا casting للستودنت. okay alright. let's try this one. so عندنا s3 equals this one. alright. now let's test if they are equal or not. okay I'll use this one. let's see if s2 and s3 are pointing to the same exact object. s2 equal s3. alright, let's see, and let's compare between equals s2 dot equals s3. alright, then we want this one to be true. okay alright, so now s2 equals s3 false. okay and this is very important. Now we don't want s2 and s3 both of them are pointing to the same exact object. We need s3 to be a copy of s2, so equals true. alright, so this one is false. alright, so this one will be true إذا بنعمل زي هيك. بمعنى student s4 equals s2. إذا بعمل s2 and s4 s2 equal s4, this will be true لأنه s2 and s4 both of them are pointers to the same exact object. and s2 and s4, let's run it. now we got s2 equal s4 true, equals definitely true because s2 and s4 are in fact هنا synonyms. شو يعني synonyms؟ يعني اسماء two words with the same exact meaning. هذولا نفس ال two different pointers to the same exact object. okay يعني إذا بتغير على s2 بتغير على s4 بتغير على s4 بتغير على s2. right. now let's create s5 as a deep copy of s2. so to understand deep copy, sometimes alright, to understand deep copy sometimes لو احنا عندنا في الستودنت فينا كمان an instance variable of type object. يعني احنا في عندنا هنا class public class اسمه for example GPA. let's assume انه ال GPA of the student is a class وفيه instance variable public integer. let's assume في عنا grade and public string اللي هو letter grade. okay so the grade, this one is from 0 to 100. right, and this one is the letter grade. A plus A minus etc. alright. okay. so now if we need to say انه في عنا هون private GPA private student GPA, for example, sorry, private GPA, let's call it student GPA. Okay, so now we have an instance variable that is actually an object. وهنا في الكونستراكتور let's say that this dot how we can use chain constructor this with 1 and we don't need this code. Colon this 1, it invokes this constructor. Let's say that this dot sgpa equals a new GPA of, for example, 4 and A plus. 4 and A plus. Why it's a constructor here. Let's assume if a constructor 1 private. For simplicity, let's assume no. This one is a property. We have a constructor GBA. So this is the constructor that takes the grade as an integer and the string of the letter in grade. This dot grade equals grade and this dot letter grade equals letter grade. All right, so now we have an instance variable that's actually an object, مش string or integer. That's actually a user defined object. Okay, now if we say that, let's assume no, this one is, let's make this one public just to understand that. Alright, let's assume this one is a property with the default get and set. Okay, so now shallow copy will actually copy the instance variables, but for GPA it will keeps it the same. Okay, will keeps it the same. يعني it will not create a new GPA object and return it. Okay, the shallow copy will copy the values. Okay, but will not go to the GPA and execute the deep copy. Okay, all right. هون لو طبعا مثلا في S2 and S3 هون if we print out S2 dot sgpa S2 dot sgpa و S3 dot we need a dot to string for those two. بدنا نطبعها زي هيك. We need also to override the to string method. Okay. Let's return this dot letter grade. Let's set it like this. This dot grade. All right, and it represents this one. So now S2, sorry, yeah, so now it's 4A plus and 4A plus. Okay. Alright, so this one are equal. This is one that we need to say S2 dot sgpa. Now it's true. Okay, and this is the problem, s3 dot sgpa equal s2 dot sgpa. Yeah, this one returned true. شو معناته true؟ هنا لما بدنا اياها ترجع true. ليش؟ شو معناته true؟ true معناته s2 and s3 both of them are pointing to the same exact object. both of them are pointing to the same exact object. okay. احنا ما بدنا هنا equals. alright. شو معناته انه both of them are pointing to the same exact object؟ it means انه اذا بغير انا على s3.sgpa راح يتغير على s2. okay. هاي s2 هاي s3 s3 here. let's run this one. يعني s2 و s3 4 و a plus. اذا انا باجي هون بغير على s2.sgpa dot, for example, the grade. if I make it, for example, grade, if I make it 98, let's assume انه by default it's 100. the grade is out of 100. حكينا احنا مش out of 4. this one is 100. okay. if we change this one to 98, let's print that again. غيرنا على ايش؟ هون غيرنا على s2.sgpa بعدين طبعا s2gpa و s3gpa و compared if they are equal or not. شو اعطاني هون؟ اعطاني انه both them were 100. لما غيرنا على s2.gpa رجعت 98. it means انه تغير على الاثنين. اوكي. احنا ما بدنا هذا البيهيفير. احنا بدنا هذا بنسميه shallow copy. احنا بدنا deep copy. اوكي. شو يعني deep copy؟ يعني انا بدي لما اعمل كابي يكون هذولا مش equal بدي نكون بس dot equals. فبدل shallow copy بدنا نعمل هون deep copy. first of all we need to do a student object s equals هاي shallow copy. بعدين نعمل هسه هون s dot sgpa equals new sgpa new GPA. بس by default the values تاعيته equals, for example, this dot sgpa dot grade and this dot sgpa dot lateral grade. هون احنا سوينا new GPA. حكينا انه s dot sgpa equals new GPA. alright. high deep copy, and now we return this student. alright. let's do the same behavior between s2 and s5. so now s5 is a deep copy of s2. we want to do the same behavior here. okay. want to do the same behavior but now for deep copy on deep copy. alright. s2 and s5 this one should be false. and these are not the same. 2 pointers are pointing to two different objects. dot equals s5. this one we want it to be true. بس وين المشكلة عنا؟ في ال s2.gpa وال s5.sgpa s5 are they exactly equal? we want it to be false. s5 so this one we want it to be false. اوكي. عشان هيك اذا غيرنا على s2.sgpa.grade equal 90 equal 98 90. okay, only s2 should be affected or s3 sorry, s5 it should remain the same اللي هي 98. s5 this one we want it to be false. okay, let's run this one. هنا again deep copy s2 equal s5 no. Are they equals? Yes. s2 dot sgpa equals 98. Remember we changed it to 98 here. okay, s5 dot sgpa equals 98. now are they exactly equals? False. okay, so this one هذا اللي احنا بدنا اياه s5 dot sgpa equal s2 dot gpa false. okay, now if we change to s2 dot sgpa grade to 90, s5 will not be affected. s5 dot sgpa is still 98 وهنا false اللي هم are they exactly equal. okay, so this is actually the difference between shallow copy اللي موجود هون وال deep copy. alright. Again the system.object class بيعطينا ال shallow copy for the shallow copy through member wise clone. For deep copy we have to do it ourselves. okay, thank you so much. يعطيكم العافية.